Does karate work? Why is it that some styles of karate get destroyed and one style dominates? You see, the history of karate is as legendary as it comes in combat sports. From historic rivalries and the creation of countless legendary fighters, karate can be directly credited for it. But not all styles can take credit, only one style in particular. The best fighters from this style literally fought against 100 men in one day. Their core philosophy is self-improvement, discipline, and hard training. But even more so, the name of the style literally means the pursuit of ultimate truth. Fight fans, welcome back to another episode of Lawrence Kenshin Striking Breakdowns. In this episode, we explore prolific examples of why most karate styles get destroyed while one style dominates. Yes, the most popular style of karate, Shotokan, is excellent for scoring punches and kicks under a lot of limitations. But on its own, it has a weak transfer to any real fighting situations against trained fighters. This was demonstrated throughout history when karate athletes dared to step into the ring. You see, the quality of a martial art is determined by the success of its students, and most karate fighters were simply not successful in the ring or the octagon. Yes, there were exceptions, such as Lyoto Machida for Shotokan, and Stephen Thompson for Kempo Karate. But for the most part, representatives of more traditional karate styles typically failed. That is, at the higher levels of Muay Thai, kickboxing and MMA, karate fighters tend to lose much more than they win. To understand why this happened, we need to go back in history. After a historic boxing event between Jack Dempsey and George Carpentier, the world was inspired to learn how to fight. But without any boxing schools, the Japanese turned to a man named Gichin Funakoshi, the inventor of Shotokan karate. The Crown Prince of Japan had been mesmerized by it, and brought Gichin from Okinawa to Tokyo to expand the art. With that, modern karate was born. As an art, Shotokan is graceful, controlled, and precise. The best athletes are excellent at managing the long distance, and attacking and defending as long as they have space. Today, however, the art has evolved to a game of tag, with the hook kick being very popular, and exaggerated screams to trick the judges that they scored. With the lack of real contact and interrupted exchanges after a clean score, makes it a relatively safe sport to participate in. But it robbed its practitioners of the ability to fight against trained fighters. Many of those who practice Shotokan karate holds the notion that the spirit of competition is unhealthy. On the flip side, competition and full contact is embodied in the spirit of Kyokushin karate. The founder of Kyokushin, Oyama, emphasized hard training. At 15 years old, he trained Shotokan karate with his founder Gichin Funakoshi. By 17, he earned his black belt, and by 20, he already achieved the 4th dan. After World War II, Oyama got into many real fights on the streets, and to replace the shame and dishonor felt with their country's defeat, he dedicated his life to karate. Competing in the All Japan Karate Tournament, Oyama won the tournament, becoming the first champion. While stories of Oyama's life is full of exaggerated claims, there was no doubt that he was an excellent competitor and physically gifted. You see, the name Kyokushin karate literally means the pursuit of ultimate truth. Oyama's fighting style and teaching was harsh and rigorous, which is exactly what's required for fighting successfully. Although they did not hit to the head with their fist, every hit was full contact. Oyama believed that each strike had to be practiced at full force or it wouldn't be effective. This philosophy weeded out many students who got injured, but it attracted people who pursued truth. As a result, the champions of Kyokushin were the real deal. Men who could outlast full contact sparring with 100 high-ranking black belts in one go. Eventually, Oyama put 3 of his top students to the test against Muay Thai. This historical event was often cited as evidence that Kyokushin karate beats Muay Thai. However, most people don't know that the promoter, Isamu Noguchi, is a man arrested and banned for fixing world title fights. Regardless, this event would forever change combat sports. 3 total fights took place in this legendary event. Kenji Kurosaki for Rawi de Chachai, losing by knockout. Akiho Fujihara fought a Muslim Thai, winning by knockout. And Tadashi Nakamura fought a Chinese Thai, also winning by knockout. This proved karate supreme in the eyes of Oyama and karatekas. But it was Kenji Kurosaki, the man who lost, that would forever change the trajectory of combat sports. Historians of Muay Thai and Japanese kickboxing claim that 2 of the fights were fake, and that only Kenji faced a real opponent. This was solidified as fact when a few years later, the promoter Noguchi sent Japan's top karatekan Tadashi Sawamura to have another Muay Thai bout. This time, Sawamura fought against the number 8 ranked fighter at Lumpini, and in both of their fights, Sawamura lost in brutal fashion. You see, this was one of Japan's best fighters, a man that Noguchi claimed to have a record of 232 wins with only 5 losses and 228 knockouts. However, this inspired Noguchi to study Muay Thai, combining it with karate and Western boxing, and then naming it kickboxing. With that, kickboxing took off and became extremely popular in Japan. Kenji Kurosaki, one of the original 3 fighters who challenged Muay Thai, was humbled by the defeat and left Kyokushin to start the legendary Meijiro Gym. After losing to Muay Thai, Kenji suggested to Mas Oyama that Kyokushin should add strikes to the head, but when he got rejected, he did it on his own. Kenji fully understood the shortcomings of Kyokushin, so he combined it with the elements in Muay Thai, and the results were spectacular. His fighters battle tested this new style against Muay Thai and was even able to defeat some of the best fighters in history. One of the students from Meijiro Gym was Toshio Fujiwara, the first non-Thai to win a national stadium title in Bangkok. Toshio Fujiwara was the real deal, and legitimately the greatest Japanese fighter of all time. Fujiwara fought only the best of the best, in Japan and in Muay Thai, ending his career with 126 wins, 13 losses, and an astonishing 99 knockouts. Kenji Kurosaki would also train the founding father of Dutch kickboxing, Jan Plas, further ushering the golden era of kickboxing. Fighters from Japan fought in Thailand and vice versa, and this ended up globalizing both arts around the world. The birthplace of K1 was Seido Kaiken Karate, which is an extension of Kyokushin. To kick off the original K1 events, they invited the best Kyokushin fighters to participate against the best fighters of all styles around the world. Kyokushin fighters like Annie Hoog and the great Dutch kickboxers took the sports to its greatest heights in what's known now as the golden era of kickboxing. You see, the effectiveness of Kyokushin was founded on a simple philosophy. They were not afraid of taking on challenges like so many traditional martial arts fear. Only hard men who had the courage to face their fears could rise to the top of Kyokushin. A typical Kyokushin class under Mas Oyama was 4 hours long, and the last 2 hours would be real sparring that resembled fight intensity. You can easily see how this leads to a Kyokushin fighter like Annie Hoog, who was a top Kyokushin athlete throughout his entire career. In Kyokushin matches, they simply stand in front of each other and exchange hard strikes. No, they are not graceful in movement like Taekwondo and Shotokan karate, but it does transfer extremely well into learning kickboxing and Muay Thai. The 3 pillars of kickboxing was boxing, Muay Thai and karate. When put together, these 3 arts is what makes elite Japanese kickboxing. To this day, Japanese fighters continue to do well against the best Muay Thai fighters, such as Tenshin Nasukawa and Hiroki Akimoto. Although almost all prolific Japanese kickboxers have extensive training in Muay Thai to make their style work, it's without a doubt an extremely effective style that can beat the best of Muay Thai in the kickboxing arena. You can also see why Kyokushin was so effective by learning about their ultimate test, which is the 100-man kumite. The kumite is 100 rounds of hard sparring, each about 2 minutes in length. They have to face a high-ranking opponent, and under extreme fatigue, they have to face fresh opponents. This type of training and testing forces them to accept pain, and by doing so, they become hardened fighters. Ultimately, the beauty of Kyokushin karate, the karate style that dominates while other styles get destroyed, is that it's founded on truth. When a martial art allows full contact, delusion is erased from reality, and that simple principle caused an evolution of combat sports. If you ever doubt spending time in the martial arts, understand that ultimately it helps us pursue truth. If you enjoyed this episode, please support us by watching another one. I'm Lawrence Kenshin, and thank you for keeping our channel alive.